welcome to day 5. Day 5 of the 12 first traits of a purposeful warrior. And I wonder if you can guess what it is today. Playful. So today's trait is playful, and for me this means full of play, naughtiness, and a bit of fun on the side. I'm sure that we all know how important play is for children, and yet the benefits of playfulness are arguably even better for adults. The common theme across most forms of adult unhappiness is rigidity. I know this was the case for me for a very, very long time in my adult life. And for all my fancy educational attainments, my steady career, my big vocabulary, oh yes, those words, I still surprise myself with how actually how much I know. As an adult, I still tended to get stuck in my ways, often in my own, to my own long-term detriment. And I knew as a warrior there was a better way. I just hadn't stumbled across it. So while our routine ways of thinking and acting may be useful in some ways, as well as comforting and familiar, and we all know what happens in that environment, right? We either wither and, just wither away. We don't grow. It's not a fertile environment. So often this prevents us from growing and adapting, if you like, when we are too rigid in our ways and we're stuck in the comfortable and the familiar. And ultimately that contributes to misery, lots of misery, from depression and anxiety to stale relationships and boredom. Yep, I decided those things were no longer for me, and I trust you will do the same. An underappreciated anecdote to this stuckness and unhappiness is play. It really is. And what follows are some benefits that I've found that have brought more, that I've found that I've achieved or been gifted by bringing more playfulness and fun into my life. So the first one is playfulness helps us outcompete worry and anxiety with curiosity, and passion and fun. Because worry drives anxiety, full stop. That's what happens, right? Which means that the way to feel less anxious is to break that mental habit of worry. Now, unfortunately, there's no magic pill for this. That there isn't. Worry is one of these things that happens very, very naturally to each and every one of us, and it takes practice and hard work to worry less. Specifically, it means training your brain to really feel the pull towards worry, yet to pause, redirect your thoughts elsewhere, and keep them there. So things like mindful meditation, and meditative walking, that sort of thing is very useful to practice this particular aspect of play. And it's good exercise, if you like, to develop an anti-worry mental muscle, should we call it? And yet it's challenging, and it takes a lot of repetition. Because there's also another underrated approach to worrying less, and that's cultivating interesting objects of thought. So it's hard to stop worrying and think about something else when you don't have much to worry about in your life, you're interested in or excited about. That's what I found, that my worry came very naturally and was very, very prevalent, shall we say, in my life, because I didn't have anything else really to focus on. So this was so true for me, and now I make it a constant part of my life to generate new and interesting things to think about throughout the day, and that helps me, dramatically, really, with less worry. I didn't really have a lot of anxiety, but I was then, and these days it's very, very low. So personally, now I realize that worrying is part of my being. And although it's not as prevalent as it once was, like I was saying, in my day, I do have a specific place at home. I call it my worry chair, that I used to sit in every day. This is how I managed to crack the code of worry. I used to sit there every day, same time, and do my worrying. And now I don't sit there every day. I don't feel the need to. And often I do just go and sit there, and there's no worry. So it's quite remarkable how things have changed. I'd love you to give it yourself a try and see, how you go with that. I'd love to know as well, put in the comments. And also the trick is to be consistent with it. It's something they need to build a habit with. I'm going to have a drink. Tea? Because being playful and play also increases freedom and the options that we have around freedom. Because when we play and bring our warrior playfulness into our daily lives, we tend to look at things in new ways. Often, because a particular game or a new situation forces us to, right? So when we're consistently practicing looking at things in different ways, two things can happen. We make novel connections. So the ability to see connections between seemingly unrelated things is a hallmark of creativity, and some would say genius. No surprise there, right? Because warriors are geniuses, so come and join us. But it's not just something we're born with or without. Anyone can cultivate this ability to see novel connections and relationships through play. And also the second thing is that we see possibilities that we missed before. I remember as a kid being stuck in a particular page on my word search puzzle, and my grandma, she suggested to me, turn the book upside down. And it sounded silly, but also almost immediately after trying it, and turning the book round, I was looking at what the word that I needed. It was just there as if by magic. It's amazing how much we miss seeing because we're stuck looking at things in the same old way. So again, take the blinkers off, look at things differently. Because the next thing is that the next benefit I found that playfulness actually fosters better relationships. So as a coach and a mentor, I hear about a lot of people's problems or what they perceive to be a problem. Often it's things like, I'm too anxious, I'm depressed, it's got problems with my marriage, there's addiction, trauma, feeling lost, lots of different things. And yet what I struggle to hear about all the time that most people don't talk about is loneliness. And many of us in today's society are profoundly lonely, especially with the world the way it is at the moment, and some isolation and lockdowns and different things that have been happening over the last 12 to 18 months. And it's not because we're isolated, really. It's because we don't really truly connected to the people we do have in our lives. So play can obviously be a source of new friendships and new connections, by joining, perhaps a new club or a local group, something like that, or something online. But perhaps more importantly, I found that play can make our existing relationships more intimate and meaningful. And this is really the anecdote here to loneliness. Do you play? Are you naughty and fun? A warrior is. Some will find it counterintuitive, however, because we associate play with something superficial and childish, right? But in reality, play helps us be vulnerable and intimate, and when it may otherwise be difficult for us to do that. So it actually helps us to let down our guard a little bit, and to be more playful, more fun, more intimate with those that we love. And nothing accelerates a relationship of any kind like intimacy. And remember, intimacy isn't about sex, even though it often ends up there. And you'll have to read more in my book to learn about that. But play is also a stress reliever, and for me, it creates great amounts of relaxation. Funnily enough, it seems to be a good way to, relieve the pressure valve. So, because my mind was constantly analyzing, judging, comparing, predicting, hypothesizing, problem solving, goal setting, any number of other productive mindsets, we've been trained to so well to operate within, if you like. And while these work modes mindsets are incredibly valuable and important, they're exhausting if we never shut them down. It's like getting in the car and you imagine you can only drive in 6th gear at 90 miles an hour. It's just so rigid and so stuck. You don't have the flexibility of slowing down through the gears and stopping, all those things. How do you get on and off? You can't, right? It's constantly going. Well, there's a variety of techniques to help you to downshift, out of that work mode, if you like. There's only one genuine unwind, relax, to get out of exhausting mental mode, and that's, you guessed it, play. That's the thing that I found that really, really works well. The trouble is, though, that many of us as adults think play, that we're doing things that are aren't really playful. For example, you know, like we watch Netflix, right? And it's entertaining, but it's not really playful, is it? We get out and perhaps go for a beer with our friends after work, you know, and that's enjoyable, but it's not really playful. The key factor that separates playfulness from other forms of seemingly relaxing, stress-reducing, you know, downtime, if you like, is novelty. Yep, the naughty and the non-naughty kind. You know, so perhaps you could learn to play a new instrument, you know, take a watercolor class or a board game, or make a home video and stop it, mind out of the gutter, not that sort of video. Create a playlist, perhaps. The key idea is this: just because something's enjoyable doesn't mean it qualifies as playful. And as a result, if it's not true playfulness, you don't get the deep relaxation and stress relief that genuine play gives. And then the last thing that I'll sort of mention is that playfulness leads to creativity, to a lot of creative thinking and smart decision making. I found the more I played, the more I discovered I was exercising both my analytical and creative aspects of my thinking, you know, the left and the right side of the brain. And when it came to making important decisions, as much as I wanted the mental firepower, you know, as possible to carefully think through logically the decision, weigh up the possible pros and cons, the benefits, the risks, etc., I also found that I was being very creative and flexible and thinking outside the box with, you know, solutions or pros and cons I was coming up against. You know, I would look at them differently. I turned it into more of a game. So many forms of play, you know, are wonderful training grounds, really. Board games are a great example. You know, strategic thinking and outwitting out of the players, thinking outside the box, ways of doing things. I love playing Mahjong. I haven't played for a while, but it's one of my favorite games. I think a lot of people fail to exercise, you know, the more creative aspects of their thinking because it's looked down upon as risky, or it's not, you know, it's not a traditional thing to do, or we're stuck in our way. It's that society, you know, conditioning, if you like, that belief around, you know, we think a certain way, we make decisions a certain way. It doesn't have to be like that. So do it. Play offers the opportunity, at least in small ways, to think more creatively and to solve problems, you know, with way lower stakes. So that's really what I want to leave you with. You know, it's something that most kids do intuitively. They have many facets of their self, you know, through the value, if you like, that they invest in, you know, they sort of, how do I say, they're the best friend, they're perhaps the captain of the soccer team, they're a Lego engineer, they're a dutiful son. So when we are playful, it also helps us tap into all of those different sides of ourselves. And I don't think it's a coincidence that kids are experts at play, you know. So if you wish your well-being and emotional health was more resilient to the ups and downs of the frequently stressful adult life when we're adulting, try being a warrior is playful a little more and see what happens. What do you think? Will you be more playful? Let me know in the comments. So just to walk you through the workbook today, like I said, playful for me is you know, full of play, naughtiness and fun. So playful play is undoubtedly fun. Even so many people think incorrectly that as we get older, we're no longer capable of such frivolous activities. And we should heed the words of George Bernard Shaw when he says, "We don't stop playing because we grow. We grow old because we stop playing." The motivation to be playful comes from within. No external bribes are needed here. Having fun is a good reason to be playful. The pleasure it generates could be seen as its primary benefit. Even so, I want to explore what could be longer-term benefits of playfulness. I shall argue that one such outcome is creativity. Yet how widespread is the link between playful and creativity? What do you think? Playfulness encourages humour, and humour encourages playfulness, and the rest can be greater creativity. That's the results of that. What is it about fooling around while having fun that enhances creativity? These are some questions that I want you to think about and journal or write down. Post your answers here. Play for me is also about breaking away from established patterns and combining actions or thoughts in new ways, all whilst having fun. In the absence of a task that requires deliberate processing, the mind tends to wander, flitting from one thought to another with fluidity and ease. You know, it's actually a pleasurable state, and it's known as daydreaming. I'm sure you've all daydreaming. I love it. Do you? Someone who is daydreaming may be pondering on a particular theme or thought, or just wandering, you know, randomly. Either way, the thinking is not focused on the current situation or task in hand. And as such, a lot of people think it's a waste of time. However, the daydreamer may lead the thinker further afield, enable them to stumble across new connections. This is the beauty of daydreaming. So when we're stuck in a difficult problem, indulging in a good daydream isn't just an escape, it may be the most productive thing to do. So instead of focusing on your immediate surroundings, daydreamers are free to engage in abstract thought and imagination, picturing the frame, the future, contemplating what if, you know, scenarios without any constraints. And apparently daydreaming is also accompanied by a distinct pattern of brain activity. You can Google more about this if you want to learn more. I found it really interesting when I was digging around daydreaming. Playfulness is also a feature of play. You know, playful play is a positive mood, and it's the behavior of a playful human. It is captured in numerous things. You know, so like, you know, we can be cheeky, cheerful, frisky, frolicsome. You know, good-natured, joyous, merry, rollicking, you know, spirited, vivacious, you know, playful, naughty, all sorts of different words. Some people can also find non-obvious connections between words, and other people have the capacity to develop novel ideas while daydreaming. It's really, you know, it's really a question of, you know, how many are willing and able to make the change. The romantic view could be that, you know, anybody could become creative. Because human well-being is a justifiable end. Playful play contributes to having fun and the sense of feeling good about yourself. Why would you not want more of that? The benefit of coming up with new ideas and actions in such play, either immediately or in the future, is just an addition. It's a very, very useful one, but it is an additional benefit. So what I'd like to ask you today is, what's an important benefit of playfulness for you in your life? I'd love you to post your answers up in day 5. And we're going to do the draw on day 6, day 9, and day 12. So therefore, prizes up for grabs to win there. So have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you tomorrow, 8 AM, same channel, same time. Until then, remember, day 1, purposeful. Day 2, can you remember what it was? Courageous. Day 3, courageous. Day 4, tenacious. Day 5, playful. Forget day 2, it'll come back to me. All right, bye-bye for now. Have fun with your day.